When's the end?
I know. Well, it's actually going to be all day long. But Jim, that video you just showed.
Yeah, there you go.
This is where it is. Sharkey County, right? So here's the Mississippi River. That's Louisiana, and this is Mississippi. I know it's hard sometimes when it's this close. So I want to give you a little bearing of where you are. Yazoo City, Mississippi. There's Vicksburg, Mississippi. So this is what it looks like on the radar, and that's what it looked like in real life. It's so nice to have that comparison so you can get an idea. Now, Jackson, you're dry right now, but oh, look at that. We do have rainfall rates of 1.37 inches an hour, and we've been seeing these for several hours in some spots, and that's why we're seeing that flooding. So as we zoom out, again, the past 3 hours, anywhere you see yellow, that's 3 to 5 inches. So either you got, maybe you got 2 inches in 45 minutes, or you got it's too much. Multiple roads are flooded here into Rolling Fork, Yazoo City. Water is covering multiple streets there. Cars stalled out in the water. And watch out, Jackson, because this rain is headed your way. Lightning and thunder, too, maybe some gusty winds. And you have to worry about the ground being wet. It is so saturated here. Some places seeing over a foot of rain. Those trees could fall over with just a little bit of wind because it's just so wet. Possibility of thunderstorms exists from western Georgia all the way into Louisiana. And as Jim mentioned, a lot of you are wondering, when's it going to stop? It goes through the day, even up towards the Appalachians, where you're going to be able to squeeze out a little bit even more moisture because of the elevation. But notice, it's not necessarily going to be in the exact same places all day, though you are going to see some training here. But we just have this flow, coming even from the Pacific, giving us a little moisture here. And it's really going to be a wet Wednesday. Jim, we get a little bit of a break until our next big system. I mean, go SEC. I'm an SEC girl, so that's who I had to be rooting for there. It's foggy, though. You're going to have to take it slow. You're not going to be smiling as you head out and you're seeing quarter-mile visibility. It's really nerve-wracking, especially if there's like a windy road. You just never know what's going to jump in front of you. Visibility down to 1/4 of a mile at time. And New Orleans, we were seeing visibility to 1/8 of a mile. Still that in New Orleans. Now, this will all lift, but like yesterday in a lot of places in the South, it's kind of that cloudy dreariness. Really what winter is like, for a lot of places, usually through the northern tier, right? That cloudy dreariness. Look at Brunswick right here. Brunswick, Georgia. A big old goose egg. Jen.
Oh, we have the cloudy dreariness here. Don't you worry. In the upper Midwest here, it's been cloudy. Look at this. The visibility is terrible. The winter weather has made driving really tough. There is a road here, believe it or not. Drivers around the Twin Cities here had the wind and the snow. Winds gust up to 35 miles an hour on Monday. Nickel and dime events. A little bit here, a little bit there. You saw the conditions. It was not great for driving. And it's been cold. Minneapolis, just a little bit of light precip coming through right now. It's almost more like drizzly or kind of like flurries, but it's heavy enough that I think you could put a glaze of ice on the roads because temperatures are in the 20s. So worried about that. If you're traveling today, we have some snow moving into the northeast. Rain comes up to New York City, into Boston, even Providence and Worcester. It's going to be rain, but to the north, we'll get into some snow here, especially as you go up towards ski country. Then our next system comes in. It's a system a day. Remember this in the Midwest this week. Our Wednesday system comes in. This one has a little bit more moisture to work with, so we get a couple of inches of snow coming in through Minnesota, Wisconsin, northern parts of lower Michigan. This heads to the northeast. Now we get, I think, some even bigger snow coming into portions of northern New York, the Adirondacks, the Greens, the Whites, up into Maine, Portland, Maine. We get into at least some snow to start. Maybe we mix at the end of the event with some rain. And then there'll be some snow showers on the back end of it all by Thursday afternoon. So your ride home from work on 90 around Buffalo could be a little bit snowy. Early heads up for that one. For us in the Midwest, it's about a 1 to 3 inch type of snow event for most of us. Steph.
Well, shooting for the moon and beyond, this year NASA has 7 missions lined up that will help us expand our vast knowledge of space.
All right, so this morning we're putting on our space suit with Dr. Paul Sutter, who is probably in a pretty good mood after last night's national championship. He's an astrophysicist at Stony Brook University and the Flatiron Institute in...
And fires relate to flooding more than 5,000 miles away. There is a connection, and Jen has the answer in today's Weather Wisdom.
Steph, every morning at 50 past the hour, we share a little wisdom answering your questions about the weather. And today's question, what is a dipole and can they occur anywhere? Well, what we're talking about actually is what's called the Indian Ocean Dipole Event. It has to do with the water temperatures across the Indian Ocean. You can think of it kind of as the Indian Ocean version of an El Nino, how the water temperatures depart from average affects the weather. So when you have cooler than average water temperatures to the west and warmer than average to the east, that's a negative Indian Ocean Dipole event. When you have warmer than average here to the west and cooler than average over to the east. That's a positive Indian Ocean dipole event, and that drives wetter than average conditions here over to the west. Over on the east coast of Africa, we just saw flooding back in December in Ethiopia. We saw big rains at the start of the year into parts of India. You saw the flooding in Nepal, but that same pattern drives sinking air and lack of rainfall here over places like Australia. So that leads to our drought, which is what we've been seeing now for months. In fact, it was a very dry year. This was a very strong positive dipole event. Our driest year on record. We only had 10 inches of rain. We usually average only 18 across the country, too. So it's not like it's the wettest place to begin with, but we got 40% less than what we typically pick up here with precipitation. Plus, it was hot. It was our hottest year on record, 1.52 degrees above average when we look at the departures, and that led to this situation, the extreme fire behavior, really the largest on record. You look at acreage burned here. We're now at 17 million acres burned. Now, I should mention that the Indian Ocean